warma waxay kari waayeen reer Somaliland. Yeah, from Abdurrahman Tour, yeah, Mahmoud Abdurrahman Ahmed Ali, all the way to my friend Abdurrahman Erro, waxay kari waayeen inay yidhaahaan war bal qadiyadan aanu dad inaga midoo reer Somaliland ka soo saarno oo ka bixi kara godkan iyaga ka bixi kara oo xaqa Somaliland ay ilaalin kara. I'm sorry for those of you who are not speaking Somali, but I'll translate. Yeah, who liberate themselves from this cave, yeah, darkness, while protecting the welfare of the Somaliland people and their rightful cause, but at the same time they are big enough to entertain the idea of revisiting the condition of the Somali people. Waa lagala yahay tana. It ka dhageysanaysan ma jirto. I've spent many hours in Hargeysa every year. Jamac is my witness. Marka iyagana taa labadaas, those are the two issues for them. But I want to repeat, Somalilanders are not the only one who have been assigned the responsibility of revival of Somali national project. And I think the big failure is on the south to a great extent, but equally important in Djibouti, in NFD, and in Zone 5.
Well, I would have loved to be there today.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Surah Qasim Mohammed. It's such a pleasure to hear from the professors on such an important topic. I'm really interested in the place that we began our conversation. I can try a little bit louder, but I'll try not to. I'll try to begin the question where you began your talk, which is the question of the role of scholarship. As a researcher myself, I think a lot about the role of the Somali past in the mechanics of conflict and armed conflict particularly. Sometimes I come to the conclusion that our problem is not actually not understanding our past, but too much past, a surfeit of memory, a surfeit of competing dialectics that become the terrain of contest upon which we wage other forms of war. So I wonder, as scholars, what you want us to do with the past, how you think that we should shape it, and what our role is. I feel that in many cases, the academy is not a particularly strong, doesn't give us a particularly strong set of tools in order to develop something like a Somali nationalism. So what's our role with history?
Okay.
Go.
The answer will be also short.
Yes.
Okay. The map, I think I responded to that early on, so I won't belabor that. But this question of why don't you go to your part of the territories and help your people in Au Barre? Okay? I'm going to be professorial in responding to this question. Okay? The assumption is that we are all equal. Yes, as human beings, we have been created or evolved, whatever you want to believe. Okay, so everybody's an individual. Okay, so the assumption the question makes is there is one way to think about your people. Who the hell are my people? Is the question. Okay, is it my mother and father? Well, they so happen to come from two different genealogical groups. So who the hell am I? Biologically, am I my mother? Am I my father? So the poverty of that way of thinking about the identity of the human being is absolutely backward and irrelevant to challenging the quantity of the human being is absolutely backward and irrelevant to challenging the questions that are of concern to us. So who am I? Am I from Gabile? Yes, I am from Gabile. Okay? But I'm also from Kismayo, because I have a common agenda with the people of Kismayo. And I want to make sure that both the folks that he's talking about in Au Barre or wherever else in the Somali region, okay, and the people of Kismayo, we did a survey in 2005. Okay? We went to Garowe, we went to Kismayo, we went to Mogadishu. I couldn't go to Hargeisa because, so you know, guys know. Okay? Right?
At the airport.
kaali toobad keen baa lagu leeyahay ilaahay baa loo toobad keenay I love the people of Hargeisa. I mean, I'm serious. I love them, just like my kids. I love them. But so, and so we asked the question, ordinary people, not the politicians. So we said, if you are ill, seriously ill, I have 2 doctors that can treat you. Midwa bo'ba, like so reerkin. Kakale wa 0.5, but he's a heart surgeon, or she's a heart surgeon. Which one do you want to treat you? Your kind, quote unquote. We don't want that. We want skilled people who can help us solve our problems. And therefore, the problems of the people of Kismayo, the people of Aubarre, the people of Ime, the people of Erigavo, and the people of Galkayo, common people's problems are identical. And so that becomes the common base. We deal with the problems ordinary people are facing, and we build on the basis of that. Rather than think, or that's exactly what Ahmed is talking about. Iyaka, aniga. Nobody's talking about innaka. So that's the first thing. This question about scholarship that the doctor talks about. I will disagree with you, my dear sister. And that's, in fact, the point Ahmed is making is that we don't understand our past. We think we do, and then we were told to us to write an essay when I was in high school in Amud, Somali National Public School, boarding school. Okay? And that question, the essay we were supposed to write was that little knowledge is dangerous. Write an essay on this. And so we wrote 2-page essay by hand in those days. And maybe we should be writing that essay, Somalis collectively. Okay? What do you know about your past? Besides being Reer Hebel Bana. Okay? Then you will figure out that we need to reinvent the past, not as we thought of it, but actually as what it was. If you want to start that, read my first book from 1989, which is primarily about the region they are calling Somaliland.
Okay, I will pass Ahmed to answer to that question. I think Ubah, and also maybe go back to Dr. Sulekha's comment.
Yeah, 3 points quickly that were raised by the questions. The first question is the gentleman sitting across the table. Important question. And why don't you go to the kin group area? So ma su'ash. Ilaahu niman waxba ogeyn ha cadaabin bay Soomaalidu taa. So adamaad gar. He doesn't know this. The campaign for Hila began in Jigjiga. In Jigjiga. On a road from Jigjiga, then let me make it blunt. Qoloyinka Samaroonka la yidhaa halkay degan yihiin. That's what he means. Jigjigan baabuur ka soo kaxaysa. Baabuur. With the help of this local community, they're including the leadership in the area. And I drove for the first time in my life. I've never been to that region. From Jigjiga and to Harawa and to Lafa'is, Gesder, all the way to Aubarre at the end, and then crossing the border. And I was telling them about the possibility of an organization that is going to address the needs of that particular community in coalition with others in Somaliland. Because the concern was over Somaliland. That's where I am born, that's where my primary identity comes from, Somaliland. I went through that. Nobody has ever done that to this day. Qof Somaliland u dhashay oo Ethiopia ka soo bilaaba campaign lama quma hayo taariikhda ilaa caawadaan inta la hadlayo. I don't know where my brother was at that time. We had over 2,000 people crowding the biggest hall they can find in Aubarre. Yeah. And all of them were primarily that community. wixii ka dambeeyena waad la socotaan bay la tahay waddanka intiisi. What I said in the campaign in Burma, in that big day of reckoning, I had no speech. He went off. I told them, sorry about this. I told the audience, would probably 100% were Samaron folks. Kinship, not tribe. Kinship, not clan. I told them, I said, aniga ceel bay ahaya siyaasadeeda idinka ceel ma idin haya. Some of you will remember that. Ceel ma idin haya. Hadduu ceel idin hayo, yeah, vote for Hila, and then we can make your legitimate concerns in front of the Somaliland people and in Hargeisa. I don't know what else I could do. Build a party, organize them, give them a message so simple and so succinct. Just vote, and then we will have a place to bargain from. Yeah, some of them did. Out of 190,000 people, 190,000 people, my brother, in the Diwanka Kujira, and only 85,000 of them voted. The other 100,000 phantom, wala laya. And but it's a debate and a responsibility. It's still a debate. I feel the same thing as Abdi says. And it's the same concern I have for people in Arigabo and in Las Anod. I went to Las Anod with other candidates. Candidates ki kalordan, yeah, badankoogu waxay ku lahaayeen xero ay ka dhigteen caynaba. Subaxa la tagaa waa markii madaxtiriska, markii dambe way qaraxday madaxtiriska. Subaxa la tagaa maybe 9 o'clock, 4 o'clock waa laga soo yaacaa. Caynaba la yimaada. We had a big office with 8 people working there at the heart of Las Anod. And I was walking through the streets of Las Anod, talking to the community. Dadki waaweynaa dhalinyaradii la sheekaysa. Oo markii dambe ay dhaheen, waryaadeen. War ninkan Samaroon baad doorka sida loola hadla garanaye. War isaga dee codka aan siino. Marka the responsibilities are everywhere, not just one community. Way dhaaftay. Haddii Soomaali la soo daba qabanayo way dhaaftay. Reer Hebel iyo community way dhaaftay. The game is over on that issue. So second point about, very important point about women's role. Seriously important. At one level, if there are multiple contradictions in Somali society, maybe, certainly in Somaliland. I have been there now for the last 12 years. I have watched it very, very closely. It is absolutely disgusting, the place of women in Somaliland politics, society. 82 members of parliament, 1. inantaasuna way dhaxashay baa layidhi meesha. So odaygu yaa dhintay. So hadda maad garan. Yeah. So hadda garan maysid. Yani Somali culture as a whole is extremely chauvinistic, yeah, and sexist into a way that really makes you sick inside. In Somaliland, it is acute on top of that, extremely acute. And marka maxaa la samayn bay de walaashay, what can be done? One of the reasons why we created Hila was exactly to make that case public and debate it and push it through. And if you were elected in that election, yeah, dagaalka ka dhici lahaa baarlamaanka Somaliland iyo constitution waxa ugu horeyn lahayd the revisiting of the rights of Somaliland women in Somaliland. But that did not take place. Marka maxay samayn waa in la inta la nool yahay de waa in la rafdo de oo la ururiyo dadkii oo de you just keep, you know, carrying that boulder. You know that story of Sisyphus, yeah, the myth of Sisyphus. You keep the boulder up, markaas dusha ma gaarsiin karaysid wuu kugu soo noqonaya, and then you pick it up again. The next group, the labor of Sisyphus, is part of the curse of human historical living. Taana halkaan kaga hadho. But that issue is a waxa weeye waran ku yaala Somaliland haddaan la iska goyna, ya wa dhaqaaqin. Taana halkaan kaga hadho. Soomaalida kalena waxaan qabaa inaanay saa u dhaamin.